It's time. No more pointing fingers. No more waiting on change. We are the change. Men and women, fathers and mothers, husbands and wives. We lead stronger together. And today, on this powerful final episode of our 7-part series, I brought the blueprint. My parents. 45 years of faith, family, and real leadership. This ain't theory. This is tested. This is truth. Welcome to the Purpose Pursuit Podcast, episode 19. No more excuses. It's time to lead together. I am excited.
Yes.
About this opportunity to have my parents as the final episode about leading together. And I don't know how much I'm gonna smile throughout this whole segment or this whole episode, but I'm pretty excited, and hopefully I don't get too nervous.
Well, we're excited too.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're just gonna talk a little bit about, how do we move forward without any more excuses, and just, what it means to lead together. And what I want to do is just give you guys an opportunity to have an introduction, so you can introduce yourselves and just kind of talk about what it means to move forward and lead together. So, Mom, go with you first.
Okay. I am so thankful for being here. Thank you for inviting us, son. It's a great opportunity that we are here. I've been married to this young man for 45 years, met in college, and the Lord put us together, and here we are 45 years later, and we're still together. So I'm very thankful for that.
All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Excitement in the air. As I introduce myself, Bishop Timothy Batten Sr., thank you for this great opportunity as we come and maybe share some talking points, some directions, some guidance that may touch someone, help someone, and show someone some things that how to improve their marriages, their life, their circumstances. So we are so appreciative of this opportunity. We are excited and enthusiastic about it, as I said, and to know that you're doing a great work. You're doing a great work.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. You all are kind of, the examples of, going through ups and downs, sticking through it. Nothing's perfect. We're not perfect. And to know and have that opportunity to know what imperfection turns into perfection looks like, it's just an honor and a privilege to be able to kind of witness and experience that. And so I'm really proud of this moment to be able to have this conversation to hopefully help somebody else understand that, hey, it's not always going to be peachy, but, if you just stick through it, if you stay together, if you work it out together, if you put self aside and put each other first, you can get through it. So just glad about this. So I kind of want to start out with, just the story of, how does a couple go 45 years of marriage, whereas today, marriages are lasting 5 years, 4 years, 2 years, 8 years, etc.
Mm-hmm.
How have you all managed to make it work for 45 years?
Okay. I will start off by saying it's always the correct thing is to always have God in the middle of it. There's a song that says the man in the middle. And I used to listen to that song and not realizing what it was talking about. But when I really listened to the lyrics, the man in the middle, that was Jesus in the middle of the marriage. So when we met all of these years ago at Mississippi Valley State University,
Oh,
little did we know that we would be here 45 years later, really 48 years later, 49 years later, because we talked about 3 years before we actually got married. But God had orchestrated that. And you have to be willing to have patience in a marriage. When you take your marriage vows, it asks you, are you willing to do this, this, and this? And most of the time, 100% of the time, the couple say, I do. I'm not gonna let anybody get in the middle of the marriage. I'm gonna stick through thick and thin, poor and richer, to death do us part. But many of these vows that are being made are not taken seriously because those are sacred vows, and we shouldn't let anybody come in between those vows, each other, and God, because we made that before God. And when we take our vows seriously, it doesn't matter what go on in the marriage, whether it's hard times, and yes, you're going to have them, doubts, mistrust, sickness, anything going to come up, and it's going to try you. And whenever God put something together, God instituted marriage way back from the foundation of the world. God instituted marriage. And when God institutes something, Satan always tried to mess up or duplicate something God has done. So God instituted marriage, and anytime a marriage fails, Satan got in their marriage and made it fall. So we have to be willing to go through the trials, the tribulations, everything. You go through it, work through it. If you got to retreat to separate corners, retreat, come back together, and make it work.
Yeah. So you talked about to death do you part, but it seems as though um, in today's time it's until I'm no longer interested, which it kind of can contribute to 2 years, 5, 6, 7, 8 years
Hmm.
in terms of people not willing to work out. Why do we think that it's to that point now? Hey, I'm no longer interested in this. I want to get a divorce or something. Well, how have we gotten to that point? Again, 45 years is a long time. It's almost like the last of a dying breed. Why do you all think that we've gotten to a point to where it's more or less until I'm no longer interested?
Well, let me just share some points, and maybe you can probably peel back this onion because marriage is just like an onion. It has a lot of layers, and that top layer is just the emotion layer. That's the outer core of the looks, the talking. That's the But when you start peeling back the layers of marriage, it's more down inside that's gonna come out because it's what happened is, do you get a chance to find out who this person is over the period of time? So not only you're knowing yourself, but when you come into a marriage, you really don't know all there is about that person. So there's a layer. You have a top layer, the beauty, the smile, the small things. But now you're starting to unravel. And as you start to unravel, you see something different. Then you got to figure out how I'm going to adjust to what I'm seeing now, what I'm hearing now. All this was not revealed in the beginning because everything is masked because we're trying to keep that unity together because we want to join together. We don't want to show the ugly. Remember now, the marriage is the good, bad, and the ugly. But right now, you've been dealing with the good. But now when that good part is moved off the top, that layer, now here comes the ugly, something that you haven't seen before. How you adjust. So it's really going back to love God, love your neighbor yourself. So now you have to keep love and you keep evolving around God and love, not thinking about yourself, but you're thinking about what God would do. So you're seeing these layers and you have to adjust as to who this person is because you don't know that person. You're seeing something you haven't seen before. So now you got to take the time to step back and say, how do I adjust to seeing this part of this person, what I haven't seen before? And once you can step back and get that, then you had one thing you got to do. You got to acknowledge God. You got to give him some pray, be patient. And I got down here, you got to have 3 C's. 3 C's you got to have. Communication, compromise, and commitment. If you don't have those 3 C's, it won't work. Now you always gonna be. You got to always have to have a rubric, a measurement as to okay, as these layers start to peel away, then how I'm gonna deal with this. Then it comes through a whole lot of attributes that have to come to the surface: patience, understanding, being able to give a little, take a little. So it's a lot. And then another word I'm hearing right now is the word evolve. Marriage is constantly evolving as you start to progress. Not only you evolve physically, you evolve mentally, you evolve spiritually, you evolve financially, and you change. There's two things you can't change: time and chance. Everything is constantly changing, and marriage is going to change. It is how you adjust when the change is taking place. Nothing remains the same. So as it changes, you got to change with the time. If you're not changing to try to better yourself, you'll get left behind every time.
So two things I heard was obviously things will change, and how do you evolve with that? And you know, really, no, really, it's just one. You know, how do you evolve? And you know, have you really spent enough time with the person initially? So no, it is too. Have you spent enough time? Then how do you evolve? So enough time in terms of, am I really getting to know this person? For who they are, because people aren't always the same in terms. To your point about evolution, they go through different seasons, right? So, um, could we contribute some of the shorter marriages to the fact that we just didn't give enough time to learn one another? Number one, number two, and when we did start learning, we failed to evolve with what we were learning with, and so ultimately it kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, I think what you have to always remember that we're human and we have human frailties. We're gonna make mistakes. It's just a given. We're gonna have errors. We're gonna have mistakes. So you got to constantly be working, constantly get to try to know one another. I'm hearing a word right now. You can't be selfish. You know what I'm saying? You got to move yourself and become understanding to the person, to the spouse, to your mate. And so you're looking at a different one. You start looking at a different one that you haven't appeared before because you've never been that way before. So everything is different. So it's a constantly, everything is constant. And God knew that. Okay, He knew that starting off, you're not going to have a perfect. It's striving for perfection. So are you there yet? No, you still. Every day is a work. It's a work in progress every day.
Would you consider, obviously at some point, you know each other say, oh, I love, right, I love this person, I love this person, and then I feel this, I feel that, that stuff changes over time, but
Mm-hmm.
it is obviously love covers a multitude of things, but is marriage based more on love, or is there something else or another ingredient that kind of goes into that marriage that keeps that marriage together besides love?
There's one thing that comes to mind. Your initial question asks, how did we stay together 45 years? Um, I, I put marriage in the same category as a diamond. We know how diamonds are made. It's go through intense heat, uh, just a whole lot of high temperature. It takes a lot of temperature to actually make a diamond. If you think about a volcano, all of that hot, roaring ash that's coming out of there, and the fire in a volcano, and when all of that is through rumbling, and then the diamond appear, a diamond is so brilliant, and that diamond is hard and resilient, and that's just where a marriage is. 45 years, it was a lot of trials, tribulations, um, and that's what made it strong. Just like that diamond, the diamond go through all of that temperature and all of that heat and all of that um, strenuous trying to evolve into a diamond. Just like marriage, you don't stop when the going gets tough. You don't stop. You said I do until death do us part. Just because things are getting uncomfortable down here in the heat, like that diamond, just because it's getting heated up in your marriage and you say, well, I can't do it. Let's get a divorce. No, we said, I do. I'm going to stay here with you. I'm going to make it work. We're going to talk to God and we're going to stay together. Like I said earlier, if you got to go to your corner, I go to my corner. We come back and regroup and say, hey, we made a vow before God and we will stick it out and we will be better because of that. Because we stick it out 45 years, our marriage is much more stronger. It's harder now because just like the diamond, it stayed in the heat all that time. But now when you get a diamond and you try to cut glass, you know how strong that diamond is? So that's where a marriage is. A marriage is not made over 1 year or 2 year. A marriage continue to evolve because that's how you want to make that marriage last, by standing firm. Yes, you're going to have to forgive a lot. You're going to have a lot of patience. You're going to have love. You're going to have God. You're going to have to do what it takes. Yes, you may have to go in your room and cry. You will have to go on your knees and pray. But trust me, if you have made your mind up, hey, this marriage is going to last forever. When you made your mind up, oh yeah, that marriage is going to last. And then one other thing, you know, when a person goes through their 60th wedding anniversary, guess what they call that 60th wedding anniversary? The diamond anniversary. Because that marriage have gone through 60 years of tough things, good things, bad things, the good, bad, and the ugly. But look, they made it to 60 and now they are even stronger. Why do you think they do diamonds when they go get engagements ring? Because the diamond is really in connections with the marriage. The diamond represents resilience. It represents, hey, I'm strong, I'm hard, and I can do this.
Obviously, there had to be a lot of sacrifices. You know, what were some of the biggest sacrifices that you all had to both make to stay united?
Um, I think one of the greatest sacrifice is being able to understand that when you peel the layers back, now you step into a stage of surrendering because we all have a stature and a persona, but now you had to also step back and make sacrifice. Are you willing to give? Are you willing to say no, yes? Are you willing to go beyond the call of duty? Are you willing to step in an arena that you don't normally step in as a male, as a man? So you step into another arena and you make sacrifice to do things that are, watch what I'm getting ready to say now, uncomfortable. And I think with most men, we more or less always want to be in our comfort zone. So there are things that we already know we can do. But when you had to step out and say, okay, I'm willing to be uncomfortable to make this work. You know, I'm willing to, what can I do to keep a smile or keep her happy? So sometimes you have to move into the uncomfortable zone. And so you can deal with some things that you're not accustomed to dealing with. For an example, you might have to go to the store and shop for some groceries. I've have shop for so many groceries. My wife don't even have to shop for groceries. I shop for the grocery.
Hallelujah.
It's a part of my therapy. That's what I get a chance to do. When she do go to the grocery store, she said, "What certain things?" It's right over there. I go to the store so much, I know where everything in the store. So it calls you to move in another arena. Sometimes God had to move you in a place that normally uncomfortable for you, so you can get comfortable. So by doing those things that you don't normally do, is an old saying, you got to break out of the box. You got to get out of the box and do things that you don't normally do to make it work.
Okay. One of the biggest sacrifice that I can think that I made is putting Patricia on the shelf. Because when you come into a marriage, it's not about I, but I had to put me on the shelf because I'm remembering my mom and dad. My mom and dad was together over 50 years before they both passed. And my mom and dad has had 19 children, 10 girls and 9 boys. And because they stuck in it, I saw what they did. I saw how they made it. Dad, he could have left all of us children at home with mama and say, hey, it's too many of y'all, I'm leaving. But dad stuck it out. And when I put Patricia on the shelf, that means um, Timothy gets on the shelf. And when we come back and blend together, just like the vials say that we are now one, it's not Patricia, it's not Timothy, it's us. We have been combined as one entity. It's not all about Patricia, it's not all about Timothy, it's about us. We have our individualities, but when it comes to marriage, we are one. We're not two, we're one. So my biggest sacrifice was to eliminate me so we could be a us. If I had to just had it Patricia, it would have been two of us there. It's not us. So a marriage, you join together as one. And many times they may be joined together, but they decided to, hey, I'm still gonna be separate. And that breaks a lot of homes up when they're trying to be separate in the household. So that was my biggest sacrifice.
Good. You want to say something?
Yeah, when she was saying that, I was thinking about what I always say when I'm even at church. God leaves the back door of your life open so you can see where you come from. So everyone has a back door of life. And when you have a moment to reflect, you'll think about where you come from, how it was back then. So how can then going forward, how can I make it better? And I'm thinking about when I'm making decisions, believe it or not, I'm thinking about you, Tim. I'm thinking about Daryl. I'm thinking about Kenny. I'm thinking about my wife. So those at back door of my mind is open. So everything I'm thinking about, what I'm doing, is it going to make them better? Because I knew where I come from, it wasn't always good. So because I got that picture that walking with me every day, so I'm looking at when I'm making a decision, is it going to make me better? Is it going to make them better? So sometimes you have to refrain from talking, refrain from saying certain things, okay? Communication, commitment, you got to keep those things alive. It's old saying, so keep hope alive. Well, what is hope alive? I hear people say that, keep hope alive. What are you talking about, keep hope alive? What hope? What is hope? Keep commitment. You got to keep communicating. You got to keep compromising. You got to keep carrying. So we use so many different words. We don't even know what we be saying. We just be using words. Keep hope alive. Okay, what that mean? What that mean? Tell me what that mean. Anybody ask what that mean? Keep hope alive. It means, what are you doing to keep hope alive? Hope alive by itself is gonna die. You got to do something to keep hope alive. You got to feed hope. You got to give hope some food. You got to give hope some energy. You got to give hope something to drink. Hope ain't gonna stay alive by itself. Are you gonna help hope? So we got to help hope every day. I'm helping hope every day. Every time I get up, I'm thinking about, okay, there's sometimes you got to put a muffler over your mouth. Oh, shut your mouth. You got to because sometimes you want to say something. I don't think I'm saying. My wife has something funny we always use together. Asking something, sometimes she'll just do this.
Zip it.
She'll zip it. She won't say it. You don't want me to say it. So I learned to do that. I even do that with my, with people around me. And I said, you might well leave that alone because you don't want the answer that you're looking for. You ain't gonna get the answer you're looking for. You might well. See, sometimes you have to leave some things you want to say, but because you know you ain't gonna get the answer you're looking for, just let me just step out that door. See, so there's a whole lot of doors that's open in marriage. Some of those doors you got to step back out of. It's an old thing you hear everybody saying today, stay in your lane. And when you're going to find out marriage has so many different lanes. And what the problem is that we want to get in all the lanes. And you're not even prepared to be in that lane. And then when it goes south, you want to blame somebody else. No, just blame yourself. I was in the wrong lane. And what we said to you one another now, let me get out that lane.
No. So you spoke a little bit about the putting self aside on the shelf and ultimately trying to come together. But so much today is more or less, we're divided as a people, we're divided as genders, and then we're trying to come together in a marriage. But our thinking is so divided. And so, there's a lot of modern day confusion, as it relates to leadership, submission, and teamwork. How do we, knock down that confusion and, sort of convey that message that, we have to have some form of leadership. There has to be some form of submission. There has to be some form of teamwork in order to make this work. And before you answer, it's just that I've never seen any type of company with two CEOs. I haven't seen any type of cruise ship with three or four captains. It's just there's some type of pecking order or whatnot in terms of making that thing work. Now, if that captain or the CEO goes down, then someone steps up, right? But I've never seen it operate at the same time. So how do we eliminate that confusion to where we understand that, hey, there's someone has to lead, and there's more than one way to lead. Someone has to submit. There's more than one way to submit, and there's more than different times of when we may submit a lead. But ultimately, those two working in tandem kind of creates really good teamwork. So how do we eliminate that confusion and sort of bring back that mindset of that togetherness and that teamwork in the marriage?
Well, we first know that God is the head of this man right here. And he's the head of me in the house. So I have to have sense enough to allow him to be the leader. Some women don't really have sense enough to let their husband be the leader. So I have to, and it was because of the way I was raised. I saw dad was a quiet man. Mom was quiet too, but she did a whole lot in the household, but she still let dad lead. Very seldom did I hear mom and dad fuss or anything. And then when we did hear dad raise his voice at mom, it was so shocking. And the only thing he would say is, hush, just hush now. That's the only thing my dad ever raised his voice at mom. But we as women, we literally have to allow our husbands to be the lead. And when God is in control of him, we know he's going to lead correctly. Like you said, there may be some submission on his part, my part. There may be some things that he may not know how to do, and then I may know how to do better. So he said, okay, I submit to you doing that. Just like building that house out there on Bailey Drive. He allowed me to do some things at the house that he just wasn't totally used to. And he stepped back and let me do some things. So we have to step back for each other. When I'm in the lane and I can understand that lane better, he'll step back, and vice versa. When he's in the lane and he understands it better than me, then I step back. That's what teamwork is. When we allow each other to be leaders in the role and the lane that we're in, and we come together, that's when the team works. The team is not going to work when everybody trying to lead on everything. Everybody don't know how to lead on everything. So you can't say that. And one other thing that teamwork is about, it's not about I'm the boss. If you have a man always telling his woman, his wife, I'm the boss, do what I say, that's not teamwork. You can't do that. You got to have that person, as your mate. Y'all side by side. You're not in the front, in the back. Y'all are side by side, teammates. You can't say I'm the boss, sit down and shut up. Can't do that. That marriage is already headed out the door. So you got to make sure you treat your spouse with dignity, the honor that spouse is due, reverence that partner. You got to. But if you don't, that marriage is on its way out the door.
So it sounds like, with God being the head, and then God's the head of the man head of the wife, and wife obviously is head of the children. However, the man, to your point about not being controlling, and do what I say, this, and
Mm-hmm.
this. Obvious. Who wants to be dictated to and talked to like that?
And where you going and when you coming back? No.
Right. So, but from what it sounds like, the best way that man could lead is to lead with love. What is one thing that every man sort of needs to hear right now as it relates to marriage?
One thing is always keeping God first. If God's not involved, the other fella gonna get involved. The other fella is God's enemy. Your enemy, my enemy, and everybody's enemy. So the scripture say, in all your ways acknowledge God, he'll direct your path. God want to be a center of the attention. He want to be involved with everything we do. And what happens is when we leave him out, then we have misdirection, have miscommunication. There's a whole lot of friction become involved. God's a God of love. God is love. God is love. So you got God, then you have love. If you don't have God, you don't have love. You're just going through the emotional feeling. Love is not just action. Just word, it's action. So the first thing you got to do, make sure God is the center of attention, and he's guiding everything. He give all the guidance. God so powerful that he can speak to your mind. You don't even know he's speaking to you. And he'll give you direction and guidance. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I was listening and I thought about the fact that, yes, you cannot be in a situation where my way or no way, not in 2025. You might as well go on down to the court and go on get the divorce. My way or no way ain't work. This ain't that generation. You know what I'm saying? So we living in a different era and a different time. So because information has evolved and understanding has evolved, submission and teamwork, there has to be a give and take on both sides. Then you're working together for one common goal to make life better. It's all about life. When you say marriage is about life. It's life. You're working together. You got a life. And let me share this with you. I think one of the errors that we make as black men, and I'm reading this today, people perish for the lack of knowledge. And the reason our marriages perish because we don't have the knowledge is information. And knowledge comes from God. And marriages are perishing because we don't have the information. What it take to keep it together? What's the information do I need? Are we studying? Are we trying to get better? Are we trying to learn? So without trying to learn and get better, trying to get the information, people perish for the lack of knowledge. Matter of fact, he said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. Knowledge means information. What is it that I need to do? Think about this here. Most people get married, they don't know what marriage is. There is no script on what this is. No one, so what is it? Just getting together, put a ring on the finger, and we go. No, it's information involved. What is it, man? What is this all about? What I need to be doing? Why we getting married? What I plan to bring to the table? It's more than just look. It's more than just hugs and kisses. You get tired of hugs and kisses, you're gonna need some bread and biscuit. So you got to. What am I getting into? Do I sure? So you start asking these questions, and then you have information. When you ask a question, don't have the answer, then it shoots you to go find the answer, go get the information needed to solve this question I got in my mind. Because there are going to be so many questions that's not given to you. Because what we're doing, we're following tradition. And tradition is going down. We say, okay, I'm going to get married. We have a big wedding, we have big cakes and everything. But where's the information?
Are we following tradition though?
Yes, we follow.
The reason why I say that is when I think of tradition, I think of like how things have worked years and years ago, right? And so which meant that if that lady who wants to get married, like she had an example of what a wife looked like. she also had an example of what a husband looks like. Same thing for the guy. Years and years ago, that guy, that boy, that man now had an example of what a husband looks like in a marriage, and what the example of what a wife would look like. And so that's tradition in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
In today's time, there ain't a lot of examples. I ain't never seen an electrician go learn how to be an electrician from a airplane pilot. Okay, I ain't never seen an airplane pilot learn how to, go and ride a horse from a doctor. If you gonna learn how to be a wife as a woman, then who's teaching you? Okay, but that's today's time. Nobody's being taught because there's no examples anymore. The homes are broken up, right? And that's kind of what this is all about. How do we get the homes back together? But to your point about getting the knowledge, is we unfortunately at this day of time, we're just not giving those examples. And if this is something that we desire, if it's something that we want to do as it relates to like being those types of serious commitments, marriages, etc., we got to go get the information. We got to go find out. And also, more than likely, if we've come up in situations where there wasn't that example, we've probably gone through a little trauma too, and we need to probably heal that before we start to try to pour into somebody else. Because, ultimately, if you don't have that knowledge, if you don't have that blueprint, then you're probably going to fail anyways. Right. So when I think of tradition, I think of the way things used to be, when you talk about grandma and granddad, right? Like you don't see that no more. Again, 2 years, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years into a marriage, it's over. Now you got the kid, looking at something else other than an actual marriage. They're looking at TV, they're looking at social media. Like those are the examples of what marriage should be like now. What they call it, the Real Wives of Atlanta or something like that.
That's
like,
what they looking at.
Is that the example of how to be a wife?
Bad example. I was thinking the older, like we 45 years, mom and dad, they was about 55 years. There's so many marriages that still are lasting a long time. But if we don't impart these into the younger ones, the only thing they know to do is, hey, look how they doing on social media. We want to be glamorous wives like that and talk down to our husband. That's their example. That's the wrong example to get it from social media, because that's showbiz.
Yes.
That's not real. That's not real life. Real life is getting in the trenches with your husband, with your wife. That's real life. Getting in and making sure you work to make it work. Work to make that marriage work. You don't just go and look at the Real Wives of Hollywood or all of those Atlanta. Those what you call those shows? Reality shows.
That ain't even reality.
Yeah, and those shows are not even real. It's just mess. That's what that is.
Right.
It's tearing up families. It's tearing up the home. It's tearing up the young women's minds. It's tearing up the young men's minds, because they think that's the way marriage supposed to be. They think that's the way a wife's supposed to act. That's the way a husband's supposed to act. We supposed to do this because, hey, I saw it on TV. They look like they are being prosperous because look how they dress. They got it going on. But that's not reality. That's not how God instituted marriage and the family. That's not real. But that's why it's left up to us, the ones that have endured long marriages, the ones who have went through the trenches to make your marriage last, the ones who have went this distance in a marriage. It's left up to us to let those young people know that, hey, you could do it. You got to do it. You made the commitment. Talk about it. Make it work.
Yeah.
If you're not being brutalized in your marriage, make it work.
Yeah. And even before getting to the marriage, I think it's highly important that you do the work on the front end.
Absolutely.
Again, a feeling is temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it may feel good now,
Mm-hmm.
But when that feeling wears off, now who do you have? And I think Pops was saying earlier, like you peel
Layers.
the layers start to peel back.
Mm-hmm.
So when that feeling wears off, okay, now what? You're gonna have a new feeling. Now how are you gonna navigate through that?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really important that before you even get to the point of trying to be in some type of serious committed relationship, that you do the work on the front end, and not just the work on the front end. You do the
Mm-hmm.
work on self first.
Yes.
I don't think anybody could obtain a job and they're not prepared for it.
Right.
I don't think anybody can obtain a relationship and they're not prepared for their relationship. So I think you got to do the work on self first in order to have that prosperous relationship, because there will become times where there's ups and downs
Mm-hmm.
within that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of leads me to, what's the one thing that we think that women today need to understand about male leadership?
We have to respect that man. If you don't respect him, then you're not going to allow him to be in leadership for you or for your home. So we have to make sure, we as women, we have to know our role. Our role is his helpmeet. Our role is an encourager, um, to build a home up. That's our role. And we have to understand that he's the leader. We have to understand that. If you don't understand that he's the leader, then you're not going to actually understand what your role are. If you don't know your role, you're definitely not going to know his role. But so I will let any woman know, the one thing that you need to understand about male leadership is that he's the head. And one thing that I have done through these 45 years, many times when we have conflict, if I think I'm right, if he think he's right, and there is so many times, y'all hear me now, there were so many times where I had to go to God in prayer. Okay, God, you see this situation. Now, I know, I think I'm thinking right. But if I'm thinking wrong, God, you show me that I'm thinking wrong. And God, if he's thinking wrong, God, show it to him. So many times, he's learning one of my secrets today. So many times I prayed that. And he'll come back to me. I'm like, okay, God, you did that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because prayer works. We have to pray for our spouse. We have to pray for ourselves. I need his prayer, and he needs my prayer. If we don't pray for each other, pray to God for our spouse. Many times, God is just sitting there waiting on us. Why don't they just ask me? And when I pray and ask God to show him the way, show me the way, I mean, God lights up like that. I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord. That's one of the ways that your marriage is going to work. You got to ask God for help, and you got to understand who's in lead and who's in the lead role. You got to understand that, and you got to put yourself on the shelf and say, okay, God, we in this thing together. Help us to make it, and we want to make it. Yeah.
I'm on pivot. That was some good information. Then I'm thinking about God created Adam in his image and his likeness. God created Adam, man, in his image and his likeness. A man is just like God. A man is always creating. A man is always processing something in his mind. He don't respond just on emotions. When he hears something, he had to go through a channel. He's slow to speak and quick to hear. So he processed things different. So the male is created different. God created the man different because he created him like he thinks. So when he's processing things, then what do the women need to understand? That men process information different. And sometimes we want to make that man operate like the woman. It just ain't gonna work. That's when the friction comes. That's when the problem comes. Because men, God created a man different. He think about a lion. How a lion he's more aggressive. He's always looking. He when he come, everything get quiet. So a man has a lion type mentality. He's always looking. He's always aware. He processing stuff different. And God created him different. He don't go on emotions. But one of the things that does stand out, that the attributes of a marriage, is those three things: wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Here's the problem. We may have the understanding, which is comprehension. We may have the information, but we don't have no wisdom. And I think that's what's happening. So over 45 years, it allow you to, God give you wisdom. The Bible says, he that lack wisdom, let him ask of God. He give it liberally. Wisdom is application. I got the comprehension. I'm comprehending what you're saying, sugar. I got the information. I need to go out here and do that. But am I applying it? So to make the marriage work, is you need to have wisdom. Wisdom will keep you from making certain areas, doing certain things, going off the rail. So I think that's very important. So with that being said, all males need to understand that they're created different. I don't care. I don't know what's going on now. I don't want to get off in that category. But when a man starts to want to be like a woman, shut. I'm trying to not to go there, but it don't work. You're in a whole different arena. God didn't create no man to be no woman. God didn't create no woman to be no man. Cause we and now the whole thing gonna go haywire. It's already out of control.
Upside down.
Upside down, left right, all twisted. Everything just twisted because we have gone into a role that we shouldn't be in. You see, and we're trying to make it work, and it just don't work. We are forced. The old saying, if it don't fit, don't force. So you step back and say, stay in your role. I know that's so. You go back to the framework. The framework is the Word of God. God gave us all the guidelines in that Bible. What we should do, what we shouldn't do, how we should approach one another, even to love your wife. Husband, love your wife. It tells us to love. You got to have love. You got to get out of your comfort zone. Sometimes you don't do it. You got to push yourself. So it's a lot. God give us guidance, give us direction. But my wife said you had to pray. You got to stay prayerful because remember this, in trying to know one another and peeling that onion back, well, guess what? In a different, you peeling the marriage onion back, you also peeling the onion back on you because you don't even know you. You don't even know what you would do under different circumstances. So you dealing with two onions, a married onion and another onion. I'm dealing with me because I didn't know I would do that. I didn't know I would say that. I didn't know I was like, because you still getting to know you. You don't know you. I don't know all it is about. I'm still looking. I be looking at this. I said, wow. I have so many capabilities, so many attributes. There's so many things she can do on the instant. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I'll give you an example. You can come and help me cook. I don't have no desire to cook. You know what I'm saying? I don't. That's not my arena. I know because I start cooking, and next thing I know, I'm out the door, going down the street.
Everything burn up.
Everything is burning up because my mind ain't processing that. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to understand what it is that you're good at, okay? And you work with that. And I see her doing some things that she can put together a whole dinner in 30 minutes. It may take me 5 hours. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have all the information. She don't have to measure stuff. She already know. You know, I don't know what all. So when it come through experience, life experiences, peeling back that onion, knowing what you can and cannot do. So all that and then it's constantly. It ain't just one thing. It's so many things involved every day, particularly when you got children. Then that's another onion you got to peel back. So you got so many. Let me put it like this: marriage and life is a bunch of onions. If you're not willing to do the work to peel those onions back to see what's on that layer, and what happened, we don't peel the layers back, and we just assume. And when you start assuming, you're in trouble. Because that layer up under there is not different from the layer on top. Now you got a layer for the children, you got a layer for your wife, you got a layer for yourself, you got a layer for this, you got a layer for that. And so you constantly, so one word stand out is work. If you're not willing to put in the work, run.
I like to speak on the one thing every man needs to hear right now too. I'm so proud of this young man.
But thank you.
Very proud of you.
Boy, you make me feel good. Good
There-
bread and butter.
there
Can I shout a little bit?
There are so many men in the marriage that would not get up and make the bed. They think that's a woman's job. Back in the day, yeah, the man get up and go early and go out to the fields. The woman stay at home and take care of the home. But now, the husband and the wife work. So one day, years and years and years and years ago, I'm always making the bed up. Hey, both of us slept in this bed. Why I gotta get up and make it all the time? I didn't make a fuss out of it. It just, just clicked. And one day I'm like, you want to help me straighten the bed up today? Sure. He been straightening the bed up ever since. Ever since. Some men think it's beneath them to get up and straighten the bed up. Some men think it's beneath them to go and clean the toilet. Some men think it's beneath them to do any housework.
Shut your mouth, girl.
He will sweep, he will mop, he will go clean the bathrooms up. But that one sweet thing that he does is making that bed up. Some men think they don't supposed to do that. And even on Tuesdays and Fridays, and yes, I still get up and fix his breakfast. I fix him lunch. That's what I do because I love him. And wives supposed to, take care of their husbands. That's what I was taught. So when he Tuesdays and Fridays, he fasts. So that's my morning to sleep in because I don't have to get up and fix breakfast or lunch or anything. Y'all know what this man does. He get up and make his side of the bed up. He make his side of the bed
While you
up.
still resting.
While I'm still resting. And when I get up, the only thing I have to do is make my side of the bed up. I think that's sweet.
Well, you made me smile.
Thank you for that.
And I think
Teamwork, eh?
Yeah.
teamwork. That's heavy.
Yeah.
And it's doing the small thing.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we live in that social media create that fantasies for us. But you got to lay that foundation. You got to lay that foundation, doing the small thing. You think about it when they lay in the foundation, they're always doing the small thing, making sure that foundation is solid. So in order for it to last, are you willing to do the small things, the things that are uncomfortable? And then you don't think about yourself no more. Okay, you're looking through a different window. Okay, you're looking through a different window of life, and so then you ask, what is gonna hurt? Is it gonna hurt me to go to the grocery store? It's gonna hurt me to go out in the flower bed?
Pull that grass out.
Pull the grass out. Is it gonna? So you had to, sometimes we don't want to get out of our comfort zone and go back to that. Okay.
Yeah, and to that point, a lot of times people think that what you can do for me, or you're not doing this, or they flip it. I'm always doing this. Well, it sounds real selfish, and from what I've gathered, marriage's teamwork is more or less about selflessness. And so if I'm making sure you good, how can you ever be bad? And if you're making sure I'm good, how can I ever be bad? So it's almost as if you're winning, I'm winning. And if your mindset is I'm winning, then you winning, then that's almost like the perfect teamwork that you can possibly have. But just having the selfishness that we have, and that's more than likely a lot of what the breakdown is in marriages today, is that you're more or less thinking about what the other person can do for you, and could care less about what you should be or could be doing for them. So
keeping your spouse happy.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, y'all. I mean, if I choose you, only you, then I'm expecting to maximize whatever I can get from you, because I could have got it elsewhere. And on the flip too, if she, decide and trusted and settled down with me, and who am I to make her life a living hell, right? It is my responsibility to make sure she's good.
Yeah.
Right? Because she could have chose anybody. I'm sure she was probably get attention from other folk. Right? But here it is, it's me and her, and I'm making it her feel as though she ain't worthy of me or the relationship, or now she's questioning even making a decision. So, just to that point, if you're choosing one another,
Mm-hmm.
then you need to make sure the person that you chose is always good.
Absolutely.
And you're not gonna be able to do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But at least that's at the forefront of your thinking is that I'm gonna make sure that my spouse is doing really well. And if I
Mm-hmm.
can't, I'm gonna communicate what I can and can't do, and then we still gonna try to get there. So, just listening up to this point and talked about evolution and you talked about the young man making up the bed.
Yes.
It's all about selflessness.
Mm-hmm. And let
Even
me tell you, I'm sorry. One thing about making that bed up, he knows I like for my feet to hang out. So when he's straightening up the bed and he come on my side and pull the cover so he can be straight on his side, he'll make sure my feet still hanging out.
that's just being aware of your spouse.
Yes.
Well,
Right? That's just being in tune.
Yes.
So many couples, they're not in tune. Again, that's the selflessness. If you're going to be in tune, you're more or less thinking about them.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm thinking about, look, I know I'm concerned about me, but if I'm thinking about you and I'm making sure you good,
Mm-hmm.
that's my mindset, right? But I ain't necessarily worried about me because I know you making sure I'm good. What do kids and children really need from mom and dad today?
I believe a child, because the babies don't have that information, don't have that knowledge, don't have that wisdom. So they need the parents need to make sure they're modeling the right example. Make sure they're showing love. Make sure they are speaking life, speaking positive things. And I wrote down something. My mom was a single parent. And one of the things that she spoke when she wasn't speaking, she spoke when she wasn't speaking. We learned about observation. And to observe her, she didn't holler. She didn't raise her voice. I don't never recall her, and she's a single parent. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't scream. She never used directed profanity toward me. And so I observed that. And some of my behaviors come from how she functioned because she was a single mother. She wasn't cussing at me. She wasn't loud. And so when you're raising women and you're raising kids, you got to have that love. She always was, I guess she was always thinking about herself, the love that she had for her children. And how she wanted, so she set an example. She modeled. She didn't do much verbal talking, but she just modeled the behavior as to what. And she had all boys and one girl. And, don't let me say this. And the boy didn't come out to be no sissy. Shut your mouth. Oh, shut your mouth. Woo! Raised by a woman. But it came out even rough. And when I say we were rough, son, we were rough.
I can imagine.
We were rough. We were jumping off top of the house in a minute.
Yeah.
We were rough. We were doing stuff unbelievable as boys. We were boys, you know what I'm saying? But
Crazy thing, we end up doing the same thing.
but my mom, she was always silent. And when she did speak, her word would carry so much volume that we was attentive and we would listen. And she would tell us about the Bible. She would tell us certain things. Because we know we were just children. But she was always in a loving manner toward her children. She loved her children. And she never said anything derogatory toward any of her boys, her one daughter. She was always complimentary. And so a single mother needs to hear that you can raise your children. You got to raise them to be crazy. You can raise them with love and care and tender. TLC, tender love and care. Speak volume.
I know the children's need from their mom and dad, as you stated, they need to see that example.
Mm.
They need to see mom and dad showing love. They need to see mom and dad caring for each other. Because when they see them treating each other right, that's what they're going to be looking for in a mate. They want to see somebody who treated their mom right, their dad right. That's who they want to see. Somebody that they gonna treat me right, because my dad treated my mom good, and mom treated dad good. That boy and girl, that's what they're gonna be looking for. They're gonna that's what they need from mom and dad. They need to know that they matter to each other, and the children matter to them too. They have to make sure that they know parents love them, and the parents got to show them. Like you said, it's not all about talking, it's about observing what mom and dad is doing, getting that backbone, that background on how to treat each other just by looking at mom and dad. Like I said earlier, dad never raised his mom and dad at mom. The only time that he would get a little boasters when he want her to hush, which was maybe once a year.
Hmm. Yeah.
Once a year, maybe not once every 5 years, you know?
Yeah. What can fathers and mothers do to inspire each other to be uh, better leaders and not enemies?
Be willing to speak life over one another. Be willing to encourage. Uh, for an example, to inspire one another. You got to do the things that you don't normally do. Like, before I leave the house, I always pray with my wife. We say a word of prayer. We always say, have a great day. See, speak positive things. It take love. It take less muscles to smile than it is to frown. So you want to say things that are positive. You got to be constantly working to say things that are loving, say things that are kind. Then you have to always be willing to say I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Always be willing. It may take you a while, but you got to come back. I apologize. Because sometimes you processing things different, and you go off the cuff. But you got to put the link back in the cuff. When you go off the cuff, you got to connect it back together. When you go off the cuff, go on, take it.
I agree with that. Fathers and mothers, we need to inspire each other.
Yeah,
Um, he needs to be inspired. I need to be inspired. And we could see our spouse when we know they may be a little down, or we can see that. So we know how to pick them back up, and we know how to say something positive that's going to inspire them to get back up and to be their best. So we have to be able to read our partners, able to read our spouse, to let and then we'll know that they once they're inspired, once they are lifted up, then they're better able to lead our families. If you are always bashing and trotting them down and doing all that, it's going to be hard for that man to try to lead the family because of how much you have bashed him and talked him down and beat him down to the ground. But when we inspire each other, your home is going to be so much better. Your marriage is going to be so much better. Don't beat your spouse up. Don't beat them down. Don't make them feel so bad. Don't do that, because that's one of the first things that'll start eating at that core of that marriage, about how you bash your spouse. You don't want to. You got to show love. Inspire each other. You got to show the love.
I think the two things with the bashing piece, or just your words speak life or death.
Hmm.
So if you're not conscious of that fact, like, it may not happen in a split second, but if that's something that you constantly do within your relationship, like, you're going to tank that relationship.
Hmm.
And so it just as you can speak death with your words, you
Hmm.
may as well go ahead and speak life. And so from that man to that woman who may be bashing, all you're doing is creating an unsafe space for her. And
Hmm.
then vice versa, from that woman to that man, when you're bashing, all you're doing is emasculating. And so
Hmm.
it creates a situation that's not healthy. It creates a situation that's not going to be prosperous or productive. And
Hmm.
then if there's kids in the home, God forbid that they seeing this, it creates a situation where, like, the environment and the atmosphere is just not productive and conducive to anything healthy.
Hmm.
And so, I think, to the point of that inspiring and remembering that why y'all got together to begin with.
Hmm.
And so, which takes me back to the original point of, and to your point, Dad, do you even know why you want to be married? And if it, or be with this person?
Mhm.
What is your reason? Are you trying to get with this person just because it's gonna feel good? Are you trying to get with this person because like there's an end game that you want, and
Mhm.
what this is gonna look like? Because a lot of times people don't even realize that relationships is at times more business minded too.
Mhm.
I ain't trying to get with somebody that's bad with money. It's just not gonna work.
Mhm.
I ain't trying to get with somebody that don't know how to communicate.
Mhm.
So that has nothing to do with love. I mean, those are small, but those are like starting blocks to even be in a relationship, whether that's an intimate relationship or just a platonic relationship. Like you're not finna get with somebody that's gonna sabotage your future.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think the inspiration, uplifting and encouraging one another, is very important, even when it's tough.
Mhm.
You know, uh, but I like for us to kind of just share a little bit of our thoughts in terms of you know how can we help, or what message can we send to young fathers, what message can we send to single mothers raising kids without a man in the home, and then what message can we kind of send to broken families that are trying or would like to get back together.
The one thing that I will say to young fathers now is do not neglect your children. If you know you got a child out there somewhere, you need to make contact with that child, get to know that child, and make sure that child knows you. Now, if you're there in the home with the child and you still neglecting that child, that's not good either. But that child needs the father. It needs the safety of the father, especially the girls and the boys too. They need to know that their father is there for their protection.
I would say that to any young father that's coming, knows the word father and daddy, two different things, two different responsibilities. Father. And then if he's gonna be a young father has to understand he had to have love, and you got to have a love for God. Then you have to have a love for yourself. You don't love yourself, you don't love your kids, you don't love your wife, you don't love nothing. If you don't, how you expect for me to love you? You don't even love your own self. And the reason why you're doing the things you're doing because you don't have love for your own self. You don't have the respect for yourself. So you got to love God and love yourself, love your family,
Mhm.
then be willing to learn. Because you get married, you can't stop learning. You don't know. There is you haven't graduated from the college of marriage. You haven't gotten a PhD in marriage. Man, you still way down. You still in shut your mouth. You still in kindergarten. When you get married, you are just like a kindergarten. You don't know nothing. So you got to be constantly willing to learn myself, willing to learn what I can do and what I can't say, what I can do, learn her. And if you're not willing to learn, then you go back to the why. What's the why? Well, I'm just getting married because I love him. I was sitting here reflecting, and I was the why. Why did I marry this young lady over here? Because she was one thing, she was attractive. Second, she was bold. Shut your mouth. She was bold. She was, but there was a curiosity because she was quiet. I wanted to know what's behind that layer of quietness. I wanted to know what make her work. Why she do the certain? Why she not function like all these other women on the campus? All these 5,000. So it was just something that piqued my interest as to what about this person? Do you want to know about this person? There had to be an enthusiasm. It got to be something that you're seeking. What are you seeking when you're going after this person? What do you want to know? What make this person make? Why are you interested in this person? What driving you? And then when you start driving you, then you start looking at things different. Okay.
Yeah, I think that all is good. I would say for fathers, myself being a father, I think it's really important that I have girls, so I truly believe that I'm their first example of what a man should be.
Mhm.
I'm their first love, And so I take that to heart. I take a lot of pride in that. And I think any young father who has a kid, whether it's if it's a boy, you're going to show that boy, how man should operate in society. Like you may think from how young he is to whenever he gets older to where he can't understand, you may think he may not be looking, but he's looking at every step of the way. And the same for my daughters. They look at me every step of the way. And they said something to me one time, and it kind of it kind of hit home, and I already knew this, but it's the fact that they were aware of it now. They're like, Dad, we ain't worried about nothing. You are a superhero. It's like, dog.
Put that pressure on.
I mean, it was already on me,
Yeah.
but now they're aware of it. So it's like you are your kid's superhero, whether you like it or not, whether they know it or not. You're their Superman, and at the same time, you're their Clark Kent. You just got to know when to turn it off and when to turn it on. And so that's what I would say to any young father. Take pride in being a Superman. Take pride in being Clark Kent. Take pride in being an example and leading, and where they know when they become an adult, if it's a girl, they know what to look for in a man. If it's a guy, if it's a boy, when he becomes a man, he knows how to carry himself as a man. And so that's certainly what I would say for the young fathers. And then for just young women that are raising kids without men, I would encourage the women to seek out programs that would have their kids around me, especially boys. Because if that boy just doesn't have that man in the home, he's really lacking. So I mean, it's for girls and boys, but I would encourage that some type of programs, Boys and Girls Club, whatever programs, do that research to find out, how can that male influence, that male mentorship be more involved in those kids' lives, whether it's sports, whether it's activities, or what, etc. I would say that. And then, for broken families who are looking to get back together, I would say you need to understand why you're not together in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't get back together, you hadn't figured it out why you're not together.
Right.
So, certainly figure out why, understand how you got into that position to begin with, and then start doing the work on self first. Because if you screwed up the first time and you ain't fixed self first and you try to get back together again, you're probably going to end up in the same situation. So if you can just go ahead and start understanding why you're not together, and once you understand why you're not together, what does self need to do in order to get better?
Mm-hmm.
And then once we figured it out, how do we do this? What are our triggers, and how do we, work around these things as we move forward? And then just maybe, once you've worked through those things and put in the work, and not just say what you say earlier about hope,
Keep hope alive.
and not just keep hope alive and trying to get back together.
Yeah, feed
Well,
hope.
you got to feed the hope, right? So if you hope to get back together, you need to do the work on self. You need to do the work on each other, and then you need to do the work moving forward together, and not just rely on hope.
Absolutely.
That's what I would say.
On the word hope.
Yeah, let's don't rely on the word hope with no work.
Keep hope alive. How will hope stay alive if you're not feeding hope?
Yeah, hope hungry.
Hope hungry. Hope hungry every day. Hope is your children.
Yeah.
Hope is that job.
Yep.
And so you got to keep hope alive by doing the thing to maintain hope.
Right. If you don't go to the job, they're gonna fire your butt, right? If you don't take care of the kids, you treat them wrong, they just come to get them, man. You can keep hope alive.
Then you know what's going to happen?
What's that?
Hope going to be dead.
No more hope.
No more hope.
I ain't got no hope no more.
You didn't feed them. You got to feed hope. And then something came to my mind. You got to walk soft through the tulips. In marriage, you have to walk soft. You can't walk like Brutus on Popeye the Sailor. You got to learn to walk soft through the tulips, because remember, men are made different. Women are more timid. And you can't always be rough. You know what I'm saying? My wife never going to be me. I'm just rough by nature. That's the way it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? I'm always doing things that's going to be rough in activities. And so sometimes when I come around her, I had to walk soft through the tulip. Because I'm dealing with a tulip. And I got to be walking soft so it can bloom, so it can prosper. If I walk just like being a bull in a glass house, just going there tearing up stuff, it ain't gonna last. The marriage ain't gonna last. You gonna go in there and just tear up, and now you want this person to be like you. She can never be like me. I can never be like her. So once you have that understanding, she can never be me. I can never be her. But we can work together. We can give a little, share a little, understand one another, understand the do's and don'ts, the likes and dislikes. That's what make a marriage work. Do I understand? I'm still learning.
Do you care to understand? Do you care to know?
Boy, you're saying something.
wanna know.
That's the thing. Do you care?
Do you care to
If
understand?
you don't care, why you even with the person anyway?
That's the why.
You know.
That's the why. So it's see, we tradition has taken us down a road because marriage is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But once you leave the church or leave the courthouse, the work getting ready to start. Once you get off the honey, once you get off the moon, the honey gone.
But you said something about the courthouse though.
Yeah.
So, marriage this day and time is more or less centered around the courthouse, and all the festivities is in the church. Yeah. Because typically in today's time, when there's issues, people run to the courthouse, but they don't run to the church. And so I think, there's a lot of confusion in terms of, how disputes or how disagreements or just, how not seeing eye to eye should be handled.
Mhm.
The courthouse has, for whatever reasons that I care not to speak on right now, gotten into our marriages,
Mhm.
but it's become a cop out in terms of when things get hard. So again, it goes back to my original point. It ain't to death do us part is nowadays. It's to when I'm no longer interested. Let me go to the courthouse.
Mhm.
So, I think at the very least, if your core or your belief in marriage is rooted in, your faith, then I think if you have disputes, if you have disagreements, you have to lean on that first. You have to lean on each other and not necessarily resorting to going to the courthouse. So, but I
Shouldn't make it so easy to quit. You know,
yeah, no, it shouldn't be so easy to
yeah,
quit.
yeah. The marriage is supposed to last forever, but the individuals in the marriage make it so easy to quit. The first little nothing that's not that important that goes on. I'm through. I'm throwing up my hand. It shouldn't be that easy. You should have that commitment. If you don't have that commitment, stand on your vows. It's going to be easy for you to walk away. But when you got that commitment and you know that we're committed to this, your marriage is going to last longer than 45 years, 60 years, however long you're together. That marriage is going to last because you are committed.
When she said legit, you're married legit. If you're married legit, MC Hammer said, too legit to quit.
What does a legit marriage look like?
Boy, you talking. Legitimized. Now you have gotten down to the core of the onion. And now I see her do's and don'ts. I know what my do's and don'ts I know about me. I have done the work over a process of time. I know when to speak, not to speak. I put the work in. Now it's been legitimized because I know it's the foundation is assured, it's solid, it's legit, and I can't quit. So because there's a whole lot of folks dependent on me now. Okay, so it's too legit to quit. I can't quit. Too legit to quit. Too legit to quit, and you can't quit. And then you got to have those 3 C's. I'm gonna close with this: communication, compromise, and commitment. Got to be on. That's when you get through peeling that onion back, you're gonna see the 3 C's. Are you communicating? When you stop communicating, what happens? When we stop communicating, what happens?
Assuming.
Everything gonna go downhill.
Everything shut down.
That's the first thing that
Assuming.
countries try to do is take out the other country's communication.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. As long as we got some communication, Okay, then you can understand. Well, then why you ticked off about this? So we just go in a silo.
Communication without understanding is like not
Bad too.
good. It's bad too.
It's
So you
bad.
need to. Yeah, I think to your point about the communication, you have to openly want to seek to understand in that communication.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we get angry and upset, we don't want to communicate.
Or we don't know how to communicate.
We don't know how.
We trying to, but we don't know how.
You don't know how, because remember now, all this stuff is new. How do I communicate when I'm angry at my spouse, at my wife? How do I communicate when she's angry with me? So all this stuff is a process, is a working process, and you're still peeling back this onion. So you're learning that part.
Mm-hmm.
How do I communicate under different circumstances? How do I react? What do I say? What I shouldn't say? So you're learning that part of the onion. Nobody told me these things. See, you going into, shut your mouth. You finna go in, marry, you're going to marry blind. You're going in there blind because it's going to hit you.
You're gonna have to elaborate on that because
Yeah.
hopefully you're not going there totally blind.
You're going in there totally blind.
Because I mean, the reason why I say that is because I'm hoping you at least know what you're getting yourself into with
Or
this.
you don't
with
have
this
a
person,
clue.
right? With the person.
Well, I'll take it from my point. I was raised in a big home. I saw how everything ran. But when he asked me to marry him, we loved each other. I said, okay. But never did I really realize the ramifications of what marriage was going to
The
entail.
work that it was going to take.
Yes. So,
Did anybody tell you?
well, I only knew from what I saw mom and
Oh,
dad.
you going in blind.
Well, half blind.
Say one eye.
No, one eye open and,
One-
and the other one,
But if you got the blueprint, like
the blueprint was mom and
yeah,
dad.
that's just a start. That's the
start.
foundation,
Yes.
right? But you still got to build a home, though.
It taught me how to build that home.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to be able to do it, but I just, he asked me to marry. We loved each other. We knew the Lord, and we talked to the Lord about it, and yes, we got married. But here we are, 45 years later. All of this that I know now, I didn't have a clue back then.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a clue. Just had the blueprint with mom and dad. But because we love the Lord, we committed ourselves. We say this is going to be it forever because we committed ourselves. No matter what the hang-ups, the trials, the tribulation, what Satan tried to do, none of that stuff didn't matter. But because we had the blueprint, I had mom and dad as a blueprint, and we had the Bible as our blueprint. We knew that this marriage was going to last. Everything that came up against it, we knew it was going to last.
I'll say just, we're talking about getting there, moving forward
Mhm.
together. How we going to lead together? How we going to be together moving forward? My biggest takeaway from today's conversation is be the blueprint for your children.
Mhm.
Be the blueprint for others who may not, have seen it.
Mhm.
So, because if there is no blueprint, then the people that's coming or the children that's coming behind you are just left to figure it out. And one of the previous episodes, we were talking about generational wealth. And what we tend to do is start our offspring off at zero. Like we done figured out, we done made this, and this,
Mhm.
and then we go on into the afterlife, and then the kids come up with y'all gone, and now we at zero. And we got to start all over.
Mhm.
It ain't no different than relationships. It ain't no different than what a marriage should look like. Let's start our kids not at zero and show them what it really should look like into that blueprint. And that blueprint first, then you obviously have that foundation, and then you can kind of build up from that foundation along with that blueprint. And to you all's point, you don't, and I know what you was getting at, you don't really know how you going to react to things. You don't know how you going to respond to things. You never been in that type of situation. You said it earlier, as a man, you're kind of independent. Even as a woman, you're independent until you come together, right? And so you really never, until you get to that point, how you going to actually commingle and make those decisions and pivot together. Or, as y'all say, you do one of these, you
Yep.
zip it.
Zip it.
Because sometimes it's better left unsaid. Because once it's out there, you can't take it back.
Can't take it back.
Can't take it back. And so, and I know, sir, I know it's probably like this for a woman, but I'm gonna speak from a man's point of view. When you say something and or emasculate that man, Or if he comes to you in a vulnerable moment and you take advantage of it, like this, like no returning from that for that woman. So, but again, it's really just operating in love in everything that you do
Absolutely.
within that marriage.
Yep. Love gonna take you through to the end.
It was something that I think we can look at the Bible, and I don't know why God allowed you, because He gave we are free moral agents. Adam really didn't know Eve. He was married to her. She came out of his side, but he didn't know. Adam had no clue that Eve would be listening to somebody else, listening to another man. Got in her ear. So that was, had he known that was her weakness, he would have interceded or intervened. Hold up, you can't talk to my wife. 'Cause I don't know where he was now. I don't know what part of the garden. Where was Adam? Was he over there behind a tree? He couldn't have been out there doing no work. So it was something that he didn't know. He wasn't. So he should have known that. Wait a minute. Had he known, he probably would have interrupted that process, that conversation. So you still, it's a work, getting to know one another, what the strengths, the weaknesses are, what the strong points are. So it's constantly working all the time to make marriage lasting. Lasting 45 years is a beautiful thing. Okay, you get to a point, look at a different one, you see life different, and because you didn't put the work in. You know, once you put the work in, you're playing sports. Once you put the work in, you become successful, you become a winner. It don't start at the game. It started in practice.
It's been a privilege and an honor, not just to have you all as my parents. You can put this on wide shot, please. It's been a privilege and an honor not to just have y'all as my parents, but just to have my parents on this show to try to provide perspective. And you all have been the blueprint for me. A lot of the things that I believe and how I move are based off of the things that I saw in you all, which is why I wholeheartedly believe that blueprints are important. I've seen the ups and downs, I've seen the struggles, but at the end of the day, here you are. And so love covers everything. You all have been, for myself, the true example of what love looks like, at what forgiveness looks like. And so who am I to think that I'm better than you all when you all have shown me exactly how things should be, and you're here 45 years later as a married couple. So, like I said, it's just been a privilege and an honor, and truly blessed to have y'all as my parents. So I love both of y'all.
Thank
We
you, son.
love you.
Thank you. We love you too.
Thank you for having us, and we give all of the honor and praise to God for keeping us together.
This was more than a conversation. This was a charge. We've seen the cost of broken homes. Now it's time to build solid ones together. Men, stop making excuses. Women, let's link arms in purpose, not pride. My parents did it for 45 years, and if they can build legacy through faith, leadership, and love, what's stopping you? If this series touched you, share it, tag someone, and hit that subscribe button. This is just the beginning. Purpose Pursuit Podcast is more than a podcast. It's a movement. Let's lead together.